Good afternoon. Thank you. Today we're talking about the rise of CRM and how wineries are transforming DTC sales and customer relationships. Who here knows what this is? Rolodex. A lot of people think this is the original CRM. For me, my dad, today he walks around with this leather-bound book, even though he has an iPhone. And in the leather-bound book, he has all of his friends, their names, their addresses, and stuff written here. If we were in a crowded room, if this room had 200 people in it, how many people here would recognize their top 10 DTC customers if we were in a crowded room? My last question for you is, who wishes their DTC software and their CRM system would do more for them? My name's Andrew Campus. A lot of people think of me as the founder, president of Commerce 7. I like to think of myself as one of the programmers there. There's 9 programmers there, and I sit on that team. If you don't know what Commerce 7 is, we do e-commerce, point-of-sale, club, CRM, reservations. Not really talking about that today. No, there's no demos and stuff. Today, my talk's about CRM, and if we could boil my talk down to one single concept, it would be this. If you know your customer, you'll sell more. If you know your customer, you'll sell more. We're talking about CRM, customer relationship management, and when you mention this to people, they instinctively think of technology, tools. You might think of Salesforce. You might think of Commerce 7, and our CRM's decent, but it's got a little bit of ways to go. There's no demos today. But what I really want to talk in this room about is strategy. So not tools, but actual strategy. So our agenda today, we're going to talk a little bit about defining CRM. We're going to talk about building a 360-degree profile. Once we have that profile built, we're going to talk about how we could smarter segment. Once we have that segmentation down, we're going to talk about how to automate that. And finally, we're going to close with some measuring success. But before we do all of that, let's talk about why. Why do we care about this? Let's say you're a tasting room today and you got this guy that's been working for you 5 years, 10 years. Maybe he's your tasting room manager, maybe he's your club manager, and he's fantastic. He knows your best customers, he takes notes on them, he remembers them, and he provides this incredible experience when customers walk in your door. Customers love him. But then, now you have more channels, you have bigger audiences, you have higher expectations, and it's really, really impossible to scale that up. Today, as wineries, it's tough. Your customers, they expect you to know them. When they walk in the door, they want you to know them. When you send them an email, they want you to know them. When they come to your website, they want you to know them, right? And it's really tough for you as a winery. If you have your system, if it's not connected, you got your data scattered across different systems, your POS data's here, your e-commerce data's here, your club's running in an app, and your reservations is running here. Maybe you're on some Excel spreadsheets, maybe you're on some legacy software, and you can't deliver that experience to everybody. You get these missed opportunities. You have someone who visited you last month and you forgot, and you treat them like a total stranger. You have a VIP customer or your best customer, and you start to treat them like strangers. And that level of service that guy was giving, is not giving to everybody inside your organization. And it's a big challenge. It's not just the big things like though. Your customers, to build relationships, you need to focus on little things. What's their favorite wine? Their dog's name. If you could remember somebody's dog's name, you really know them. They really feel connected on that. That anniversary trip they had with you, the visit they had with you last month. And it's these little things that build connections. And when you forget these little things, those connections, they really start to fade. There is some good news in wine, all right? Our software is starting to get better. There's other software that's starting to get better out in the space. And there are ways of us to connect these 360-degree profiles. So stuff is coming along. I want to start today with defining CRM. I think most of us know, but CRM, it stands for Customer Relationship Management. But as we talk about it today, we want to talk about it as strategy and not as tools. All right? And when we think about DTC, the biggest thing in CRM is personalization. Personalization matters, right? It's not a bonus. It's the biggest driver of satisfaction, and ultimately it drives higher DTC sales. So let's talk about why personalization. And we'll start with a couple stories, right? One is Barche Brothers. They have a decent club at Barche Brothers, and every time they go do a club release, they would send out an email to their club, to their members, and a funny thing was happening to them. They'd send an email to their members, and their members would actually come to their website and place an order. And now their members are placing an order at the same time they're getting their club release, and it'd frustrate their club members. All of a sudden they got 2 orders, and they'd send an order back, and it'd frustrate the winery. Barche Brothers implemented some personalization on their website, so when you go to their product pages, if a club release is coming up, it actually lets their club member know a release is about to come up. Here's what's coming in your release. You could add products to it. You could still e-commerce order if you want, but here's what's coming. You could add additional products to it. They took that same page, and if you're a repeat buyer, they would say, hey, welcome back, and they'd serve you up some personalized products. And if you've never been to their website before, they treat you out with saying, here's a few suggestions for you. And at Barche Brothers, this had some interesting effects. First, it increased the recommended product purchases, and I'm going to take you through some numbers in about 2 or 3 minutes, and also decreased accidental club member shipments when they did this. So that's an online experience, but I want you here to think about the last time you had a personal experience. You had this great personalized experience, maybe at a winery, maybe at a restaurant. For me, I lived in Napa for 4 years, and I used to frequent Marimoto. There's a server who just left there, but his name was Amir, and he was fantastic. He would remember me. He'd remember the vacation or the trip that I was just taking. He remembered that I had 2 boys. He remembered that these kids were going to university. He remembered what they were taking in university. He remembered all these things about me. He remembered the table I liked in the back right corner. He remembered the food that I loved. This built loyalty, it built trust, and ultimately it opened up my wallet. So whether it's that experience that happens online, whether it's that experience, that personalized experience that happens in the taste room at the restaurant, these experiences really matter, right? Whether it's through a personalized, tailored message, whether it's through a product recommendation, whether it's through a thoughtful interaction. When we can personalize something, it's the difference between generic and targeted. And we all know how we feel about generic versus targeted, right? CRM makes this personalization possible at scale, right? So their CRM is what allows us to make this personalization possible at scale. So instead of just your taste and remembering a few of those VIPs that you have, you're now able to take every customer in your system. You're able to remember what they tasted last, what they bought last, how long they've been a club member for, whether they prefer red, white, or sparkling. I know I said we weren't going to do a Commerce 7 demo, but we have one screenshot here. And this is what happens inside the Commerce 7 point of sale when a customer comes in. We have these POS insights, and we're able to help your frontline staff see everything about this customer and deliver on this personalized experience. When we have our CRM connected, right, when we're able to personalize these things, we're able to personalize our marketing email, our phone calls, our tasting events. And this personalization, it drives this emotional loyalty and drives higher lifetime value. Let's talk about some of the key metrics around this. We see some fantastic options when we start to personalize these experiences. At Commerce 7, For Barche Brothers and for others, when we personalize products on a web page, we see a 5.94 time more add to cart rate. 6 times more products get in the cart when we personalize the experience. This is true in wine, but this is also true in generic goods. At Salesforce, for generic goods, 4.5 times more likely add to their cart. So this works for a t-shirt, it works for wine, it works for all sorts of stuff. At Amazon, 35% of revenue generated at Amazon is from those product recommendations on their homepage. When they serve up a recommended product, a personalized product, 35% of their revenue comes from that. When we can personalize, we get higher average order value, we get stronger club retention rates, and we get more repeat business. So as we talk about defining CRM, CRM is not just a database, it's a foundation for us in the DTC world for building personalized, scalable relationships. And those personalized relationships, they drive emotional loyalty, and ultimately they drive higher lifetime value. And today, our customers, they have this expectation that we know who they are. So how do we build a 360-degree customer profile, right? If we want to, most of us today, or some of us today, how do we get out of our data being stuck in silos? I was at a winery a couple days ago, and they had their e-commerce system, and their e-commerce system was using a wine club app, and it's connected to that. They're using a reservation data in another spot, and they had their tasting room data in another spot, and not pictured on here, they're using an email system like Klaviyo, and they're trying to connect all of these back to their e-commerce world so they could drive an e-commerce experience, but they had no central CRM. And while this was working for them a little bit, what was happening was their wine club data wasn't talking to their tasting room, and their wine club data wasn't talking to their reservation system, and their wine club data wasn't getting into their email marketing system. And this fragmented system leads to it leads to a lot of missed opportunities, right? Your front of the house, your tasting room, your back office, your club department, they're working with incomplete profiles, incomplete information about your customers. And when your data is fragmented, you miss opportunities to connect, to upsell, to retain, or to create those wow experiences for your customer. What you need one unified system. In the big world, in the enterprises, this is often called a CDP, or a customer data platform, but they're really hard. Even wineries like Gallo rely on someone like Commerce7 for all their DTC CRM. Right? Having a single customer profile across your tasting room, your club, and your online store, and your events is what you need to be doing. And when you do that, now with this unified system, you start to recognize things. You recognize the customer visited you twice last year. You recognize that they mainly buy Sauvignon Blanc. You recognize that they paused their club once, but then they came back and restarted again. And you get to be able to start to act on the full picture. So what does a 360 profile look like? If we want a 360 profile in our DTC world, what does that look like for us? It's purchase history, their tasting room, their club, and their online purchases. It's their club membership statuses, whether they're active, whether they've canceled, whether they've been skipping some shipments. It's their tasting notes, what they've tried, what they've loved. It's their reservation history. How many times have they come, and do they come to special events? It's their email engagement, their open, their click, and what they're acting on. And it's their key metrics, like lifetime value, average spend, repeat purchase. And when we have this data, this 360 data, we could do things, right? We can now personalize wine offers based on past buying behavior. We could have invitations to local events for people that are near our winery. We could have early access for our top buyers. We could upsell people to our club. We could recognize those things happening. And the opportunities become endless when we got this 360 profile and our data is clean. Today, the connected customer view is the foundation. Our CRM isn't just a fancy address book like my dad has, that leather book, right? It's our winery brain with all of our customer intelligence being there. And when our brain works, our entire DTC operation works smarter, faster, and better. So looking at this 360 view, when our data's in silos, we miss opportunities in sales. And when we could unify our data, we get to have this full insight on who our customer is. And when we have a complete customer profile, we get to do smarter marketing, deeper services, and higher lifetime value. So we get the 360 view. Let's talk about smarter segmentation. How do we have all of our data in the right place, right? How do we start to segment on that? Segmenting, it's really about grouping customers based on what matters to them, right? And then speaking to them accordingly. So why does segmentation matter? You know, there's an old marketing adage that goes, if you're talking to everybody, you're talking to nobody, right? If I come into the room and I yell out, hey, buy some of my wine, it's a lot different than if I come and I whisper to you and say, hey, I know you like some Cab Franc, would you like some Cab Franc, right? Segmentation matters because we get better customer responses. We get higher open rates, higher click-through rates, we get more purchases, and we get more club signups. Let's look at some simple ways that we could segment wine. Simple ways wineries could segment. I reached out to Enolytics. Is anyone from Enolytics here today? Okay, they're Analytics, okay, from Enolytics. And they actually provided me this list with the 10 best segments that were working inside their software. This first one, I actually almost need to read to get it right. But they have this high-value customer, people who've spent $2,000 in wine a year or more, within their 50th birthday window, so I got a ways to go yet. They offer them a special edition Magnum with big birthday, big bottle, big purchase. Apparently this was a segmentation that worked really, really well inside their software for them, the number one performing one for them. Number two, they had on their list is pickup promotions. Club members who live within a 50-mile radius of the winery, pickup promotion. Enolytics said the number 3 segmentation inside their software that was working for them today, vintage releases. Customers who bought at least 6 of the last vintage who have not bought this vintage performed really greatly for them. Number 4 for them, membership anniversaries. Club members, anniversary in the coming months. Right? Enolytics said this segmentation works really, really great inside their software. Number 5, didn't quite understand this one on the list. Should ask them about it a little bit more. The Stay in Touch campaign on a monthly basis for people who have become new members, newly classified as loyal customers, or newly identified as customers at risk of leaving a wine club. Number 6, loyal customers. So who are the top customers that are not in a wine club today? If you want the last 4, you could visit them. You could ask me for them too. But those are 6 ways inside Enolytics that they say segmentation is really, really working today. So let's look at some segmentation in action. I was talking with another consultant, Miriam Che from Che Consulting, and she was telling me what she was doing for Peju Winery. Someone's laughing. Did I mispronounce that? Oh, Peju's here. All right. Pardon, you didn't know you're, all right, sorry. I asked consultants for this data, not wineries, so I'm glad you're here. And she was talking about some of the smart segmentation list building that's going on around the journeys for their customers and how they are able to increase their e-commerce sales by 30%. I keep hearing how DTC wine is down 15%, DTC wine's down 5%, but we see people like Peju where their e-commerce is up, and that's really fantastic. You should probably ask them about it. The other one from Miriam is Hess, right? And they have this end of vintage replenishment. So people have bought this vintage, and as they start to run low, they're telling them they're running low, and they'll do a replenishment. And they have this 2 times open rate on this. Got one from, this one's also from Enolytics, Fontanella, another end of vintage offer. And they took a list, and they divided it between club member and non-club member, And they took those segments and divided between East Coast and West Coast, and they were able to drive 11,400 in orders for them. Here's segmentation. It doesn't have to be complex. You don't need 10 different versions of every marketing email that you're doing out there. It could be simple and effective by just doing something small, right? You have a new Chardonnay release, you break your list into a couple where you have people who bought Chardonnay before and you send them a standard release. And you take people who are buying rosé and you say, hey, here's an alternate spring sipper for you to try on. And you could do simple segmentations like that and see some of those work. So we talked about 360 view customer. Just a quick recap on segmentation. So it's about smarter communication. It could be simple. Purchases, membership, geographic areas, engagement around those, and how people are seeing small changes for big results. So you got your 360 view, you got your segmentation. Let's talk about automation, right? How do we scale this personalization without losing the human touch? Personalization, automation lets you do things with personalization without needing a bigger team, all right? So what's it really mean? It's not about making your email feel robotic, right? It's about setting up a smart system, the right message to the right person at the right time. It's like a set of dominoes where you set up this beautiful row, and once you have it working, and a customer takes an action, like joining your club, like abandoning the cart, like celebrating birthday, you get a perfect personalized message to them at the perfect time. And no one on your team has to manually hit send. So let's look at some easy examples of automation that wineries are doing out there today. First one is a welcome series for new members, right? You have a new club member, you should have them on an automation. First, as soon as I sign up, I should get a thank you. Thank you for joining my wine club today. Shortly after, you could send them an email, meet the winemaker. You could then hit them with how to customize their shipment. And then maybe an invite to an event that you're having. And this is really how you start to build loyalty with your club member over time and start to build retention. Another example, a lot of people do this today, is cart abandonment recovery, right? So you person adds something to your cart, 4 hours later they leave, they haven't bought, you hit them up, or 24 hours later you hit them up. And we see some great examples of this working. This is from Fresh Take Creative, and they were showing me one they did for Van Duzzer. And I should ask them the time frame, but 364 recipients on this cart abandonment email, 75% open rate. That's huge. Normally we see open rates between 25 and 35%. 26 orders, $14,000 just for setting up that automation. Whoops, let's see if we go back. Birthday or anniversary offer, right? Customer's birthday. A lot of people in the wine space track birthday. All of you should track club sign-up anniversary and just doing a little offer around that. So one that Commerce 7 does really, really well, and that's club shipment nudges. If you do nothing inside our software, 2 weeks before your club, we send you an email. 2 days before your club shipment, we send you another personalized reminder. These reminders, they show you all the products. Even if they're from our machine learning, they show you your discounts, everything on them, and we invite you to edit your club shipment. Huge open rate. I should have had that on here, but we have a 30% interaction rate and a 20% shipment increase rate on that. If your club's worth 100 grand, it's now worth 120 grand from sending these club automation emails out, and it's pretty cool how that works. I'm running low on time, so we're going to skip this one. This is a case study but just look at that last column, right? So they have these segments, target offers, call to action, and then the outcome around that. So automation is about consistent, personal, timely communication. Examples of that would be like welcome series, abandoned cart emails, birthday offers, renewal nudges, right? You set it once, run forever. You should focus and measure that a little bit, but yeah. So we've got all of our data in the same area. We're segmenting, we're automating. It's time to talk about measuring, right? If you're not measuring, you're just kind of guessing. Measuring gives us visibility into what's working and what's not. And our CRM system should be doing this for us, should be letting us know what's working and what's not. Why does it matter? You know, if you get into the set it and forget it trap, you launch a few campaigns and you just move on, you know, you start to, nothing's really happening. But measuring turns random marketing into intentional growth. You know, a good winery today is constantly looking at the data, tweaking and improving. This is something at Commerce 7 when we're talking to our customers, we're constantly looking at that. We're always changing what we're measuring to. So what should wineries measure, right? Email engagement, open rate, click-through rate, unsubscribe rates. What segments are responding better, right? Which offers are performing the best? Campaign sales, right? Are your emails, are your SMSs, are those efforts driving real orders? What's the average order value from a given CRM? Or a given CRM-driven sale? Club retention, right? Year over year, are you keeping members longer? What automations and what are they engaged with when they're talking with you? Customer lifetime value, right? What engagements, what personalized messages are working for you? Are club members with multiple interactions, are they staying longer? Your automation performance, how much revenue is coming in from abandoned cart? What percentage of new members are engaging, right? Let's look at some measurements in action, right? This one was given to me also by Fresh Take Creative. 5,000 recipients on this. Not a great open rate on this, but they did drive 1% of sales from it, 55 orders on 56,000 customers for $10,000. And so they're getting some measuring around this. And I do thank them for providing me this example. Harport Designs was looking at one of their websites. What was happening before the website launched? What was happening after the website launched? And whether this new website was having an effect. Measuring's not really about doing more. It's about doing it better, right? If every quarter or every campaign or every customer interactions, it gives us this chance to learn, to improve, and to grow. And measuring takes our CRM and really makes it a competitive advantage. So a quick recap on that. We want to measure the right things: engagement, sales, retention, lifetime value, automation, impact, right? We want to be looking at our dashboard regularly and improving that over time. And these small adjustments make major revenue wins over time. So in closing, right? I know it's tough these days as a winery. You know, your customers, they want to be seen more. They want more than just good wine. They want to feel seen. They want to be remembered. They want to feel like your winery gets them, right? This happens when they're standing in your taste room, when they're reading your email, when you're sending them that text message, when they're ordering from home. You know, that's exactly what an intelligent CRM system is going to do for you. It's not just about the tech, though. It's about building those real loyalty and real connections. You want to be able to, wineries that embrace this, the ones that unify their data, the wineries that segment smartly, the wineries that automate thoughtfully, that measure carefully, those are the ones that are winning at the DTC sales game. And so you really need the right strategy and the right commitment. And I really think it is a big commitment to do these types of things, right? I've been really excited as I see people using different CRM systems, or I see people using the Commerce 7 system, right? And how they're growing these deeper relationships and selling more wine. I want to thank you for coming here today, and I'm open to having questions from you on this presentation. Thank you. I'm really open to having no questions. The question was, how does Commerce 7 know which wines to push in the personalization option? It's a great question. So we know what they bought. We know what they bought multiple times. We know every page they've looked at. We know what every wine they've ever clicked at. We use an algorithm that we built in 2018 and probably needs some updating, but it uses a nearest neighbor algorithm, if you're familiar with anything on machine learning, and that's what it's using. So we actually haven't retrained the model lately, but that model works fantastic for us when we look at it today. So we pin all the time our personalized products versus just generic products, and we know it's really working for us today. So it's basically all of those interactions. The biggest signal is someone looking at buying a wine twice. We know if they bought it twice, they really enjoy it, but it does use those other signals. Any other questions?
We moved to Commerce 7 a year ago, and it's been a game changer, so thank you very much. That was the first thing I wanted to share. Second question was, what's next? What are you working on as what's the next frontier for this?
The thing that we did recently, and again, I didn't come here to talk about Commerce 7, we wanted to talk about CRM, but the thing that we did recently was the POS Insights. I'm not sure if you're using that, but being able to give your frontline staff 4 quick sentences they could have with a customer. So, hey, you were here a year ago and you bought this, or you tried this, would you like to have some more of that? It becomes a really good conversation. As I sit in wineries, and I've been spending all of my time on the road lately, and as you sit and you watch tasting room staff, they often, first, they're very intelligent, they know their product, and they love what they do, but they often have the same conversations with the same people over and over again. And so we're trying to provide them some uniqueness and some specialness. When I walk into a restaurant and the guy says, welcome back versus welcome, that actually says that he remembers that I came there before. When I come back in there and he goes, last time you had this sushi and now we're offering this, that shows that he knows me more, right? And if the guy remembers my dog's name, then I know he really knows me, right? But those are the types of things. So I think we just started to do this inside our CRM, inside our point of sale using our CRM data. I think we need to do that in every part of our platform. We need to be doing that in the reservations. We need to be doing that everywhere, surfacing these little insights. There's a few people around here that work in AI. Stephen Muck's here today, maybe he's here, I don't know. But I think we have so much data that we could be helping wineries have these thoughtful interactions at different places inside our software.
You were pretty good at showing how customers could segment with their CRM and that they could track the different metrics for marketing success. And I know you said you didn't want to talk as much about Commerce 7, but does Commerce 7 also provide some kind of apparatus so that when they do their CRM campaigns, they could do A/B testing?
So first on the segmentation, before we talk about Commerce 7 again, there's some fantastic tools. And I want to kind of give them out there. Analytics, Wine Pulse, lots of people help you with your data. There's lots of e-commerce systems out there too that you should check out. Commerce 7 integrates greatly with Klaviyo. Does a really nice job of a MailChimp integration. 700 winery. Commerce 7 has about 1,900 people using the modern platform, and has all the people coming over from Wine Direct. But those 1,700 people use MailChimp or Klaviyo. Commerce 7's campaign builder does not have A/B testing in it, does have personalized products in it, does have personalized pricing in it, but the native campaign tools inside the platform do not have A/B testing in it. Any other questions? One at the back there.
Yeah. Thank you for this presentation and also the personalization recommendations. And regarding celebrating important birthdays for important clientele, how do you combat certain challenges with validating or acquiring actual birth dates if it's not required for them to enter it? Are there other tools you can use or other sources that you recommend, or how to avoid and minimize some of those January 1, 1900 birthdays?
I would immediately take any garbage data inside my CRM and I get rid of it. If someone has, as we're bringing Wine Direct over to Commerce 7, a January 1, 1900 birthday doesn't exist anymore. That could just be gone, right? So I would try, one of the problems with our data that we've done over the years is we've set up fake customers to track tastings and pours. We've set up fake customers to do these different things, and it starts to pollute for when we're trying to find analytics around our customers. It starts to pollute all of that. So it's really important that we have a clean database on that, right? Don't always have to get the birth date. It's pretty controversial, but if Commerce 7 default setup, if you do nothing, is to only ask the birth date in the states where we're required to capture a birth date. In California, you got to know that they're 21. You don't have to know their birth date. Now, we do have settings around that, so you could play with that. But if you're not getting their birth date, then it's hard to get a birthday email on them. I actually don't love people who remember my birthday. I do, I feel like I'm getting older, and it's kind of one of those reminders. But you do have to play around with your data and get, I would clean your data before you did a birthday email, or you're going to send a lot of people a January 1, 1900 birthday. You're now 125 years old. Congratulations, right? So those are problems inside the system, and you have to kind of work with your provider and your staff to clean that out and make sure that you don't have junk data in the database. Is terrible. I'd rather have no data. I'd rather have no birth date than a bad birth date. I'd rather have no city than a bad city. And our databases need to we really need to keep them clean. It's a really tough job to do, but we do need to keep them clean. Awesome. Thank you guys for coming out today. I really appreciate it.